West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. This sent me down a rabbit hole that I spent hours reading about yesterday because I had never heard about United Airlines Flight 629, the mainliner Denver, a Douglas DC-6 aircraft blown up over the skies of Colorado on November 1st, 1955 by a dynamite bomb checked into the luggage by 24-year-old Jack Gilbert Graham. This newer dwell, who had been arrested for fraud in lots of different cases, had an issue with his mom, who was on the airplane. And she had kind of abandoned him to an orphanage. She was in poverty. She ends up getting married to a very wealthy rancher up in the northern Weld County area, and then doesn't get him back, just kind of leaves him. So he becomes a problem, gets arrested for fraud and bootlegging and other types of things. So she gives him a restaurant to manage. And he had learned that he could engage in forms of insurance fraud. So he blows up his own restaurant, allegedly, to collect insurance dollars. He parks his car on train tracks. That gets hit by a train in order to get some insurance money, then figures he can blow up his mom while she's on an airplane after taking out a bunch of insurance policies from a vending machine at Stapleton Airport. This was crazy. He took out like 6 of them. Packs dynamite into his mom's suitcase. She takes off. The plane blows up over Longmont, kills all 44 people aboard. What's even wilder is that Mark Crowley, one of the producers on this program's dad, was supposed to be the fill-in for the pilots that day. So if any of the pilots had called in sick, Mark Crowley, who was born in 57, wouldn't have even been here.
Nope, because his dad would have perished in the flight. Yeah, in the crash.
They all died. Ages ranging from mid-80s down to 13 months. Even a pregnant couple on their honeymoon died in this. And then what was wild about the case was that there was no federal law to punish the guy under. So no one had written a law saying you can't sabotage an airplane. They hadn't even thought of it. So they tried to possibly prosecute him under sabotaging trains, but that didn't work. So the dude got convicted for 1 count of premeditated murder against his mom. When they investigate, they find bomb-making material in his house. He had taken jobs to learn how to basically build bombs. And then you had all this other insurance fraud that had taken place, plus the fact he took out 6 life insurance policies on his mom the day she took off. Then they discover via forensic analysis that the bomb blew up from her luggage. We're able to trace it back to him. Dude goes and dies in the gas chamber here in Colorado, like a year after he gets convicted. 24 years old. All of this. But there's no memorial to this, which is wild. So we're going to talk to Becky Tesone about that.
And how many people in the audience have even heard a little bit of the story? I had heard a tiny bit of the story, and it was specifically that there was no law at the time. I didn't know any of these other crazy details. I just knew dude took out insurance policies, blew up mom's flight, and they could only charge him with the murder of mom because there weren't any laws about it at the time. And that was it. And that comes back to, the September 11th, stuff like that. Beyond that, I did no other looking into. I had no idea the twists and turns that are contained inside the story. This is fascinating.
Heartbreaking story, and the Colorado Sun details this. It's a real long read, but it's worth it. It's their big Sunday piece. And the title, 70 years ago, a Colorado man plotted to kill his mother. How he carried it out shocked the nation. And this was the first trial in Colorado to be televised. So they actually had a camera in the back, too. This made a ton of news back in 1955, 56, and then he ends up dying in 1957. He's executed. But we're going to talk with Becky Tesone, who's leading the effort called Remembering the 44 to build a memorial to honor those. And there might be a memorial out at Stapleton at the old tower there, as well as one up in Weld County where this took place. But farmers were out harvesting their beet crops at the time. They had just finished. It happened just after dinner, and they raced out there to help. And the story gets into how everybody's calling 911. They're all trying to get State Patrol out there, and then State Patrol relays back, no need to rush.
Yeah.
They had all perished, 44 people. And so it became a recovery operation. So, wow.
Awful. Yeah.
You're not going to want to miss this conversation. But now it's time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good Tuesday morning. Sunshine out there. 34. Expecting a high of hopefully 50 today. It'll feel like 55 with the sun. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story. And my computer is freezing. Well,
we got it right with Todd, and he knows that he has the support of the city council behind him.
Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky can't say enough great things about Police Chief Todd Chamberlain. They're going after criminals now. Pursuits in squad cars have shifted to overdrive, and they're setting the tone. She was on with the fellas the last hour.
I was criticized because I came on your show and I said that Democrats were making crime legal. But you know what? That's how it felt. That's how it seemed. All I can say is that the Aurora police are doing their job. They're catching criminals. Auto thefts are down like 30-something% in Aurora. I have officers tell me, that work the beat over on Colfax, right where we cusp up to Denver, and they will see a car cross that line, see the Welcome to Aurora sign, and turn around and hightail it right back into Denver.
That's a great story. She's up for re-election a week from today. She's the one who outed Trende Arago and also has fought evil in the city for years. Hero.
Employee of the school district, I only get paid once a month. By the time I get my bills paid, I have nothing left to pay for food and other basic needs. If it wasn't for SNAP benefits, I wouldn't be able to feed my children or myself.
Well, the Schumer shutdown hits day 28, and she won't be able to eat. Now, this is beside the point, but she is about 400 pounds. The left loves the chaos and may have it when the SNAP benefits end and riots and looting take place this weekend. Here's Steve Scalise.
Schumer and radical Democrats want to use American people as leverage. A Democrat aide said they won't concede short of, quote, planes falling out of the sky. Who are these people? Didn't they once care about this great nation and making it better? And now they think if a plane falls out of the sky, that's their leverage? For what?
Some believe the Democrats are just trying to appease the health insurance companies who fund their elections and make tons of cash via the Unaffordable Care Act. A federal judge in San Francisco will hear arguments today on whether the DJT administration can carry out mass layoffs during this shutdown.
But the cherished alliance between the United States and Japan is one of the most remarkable relationships in the entire world. Really, there's never been anything like it. Born out of the ashes of a terrible war, our bond has grown over 8 decades into the beautiful friendship that we have. It's a foundation of peace and security in the Pacific. You see it? So on behalf of all American sailors stationed in this beautiful country, let's hear it for our allies and the Japanese self-defense forces and all of the Japanese people that we love and respect. And I have such respect for Japan and the country. And now I have a really great respect for the new and incredible Prime Minister. And I have to say this, the first female Prime Minister in the history of Japan. Madam Prime Minister.
All right, 47's Asia trip continues. DJT delivered remarks earlier today to troops aboard the USS George Washington there, and she gave the U.S. some great gifts today, more cherry trees for D.C. and fireworks for Independence Day, the new prime minister. You got to love that. The president's nearly week-long trip will include a sit-down with Chinese President Xi in South Korea on Thursday. Let's see, we have World Series last night, if I can find it here.
Los Angeles. Thurman sends a fly ball to center field. Varsho's going back before the clock strikes midnight. Freddie Freeman has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
Wow. Game 3, bottom of the 18th inning, tied at 5, and Freddie Freeman at the plate, and he hit it. Gone. 6-5 walk-off. He's done it 2 times. Walk-off homers in the World Series. Dodgers lead the series 2-1. Dodgers manager Dave Roberts.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest World Series games of all time. Emotional. I'm spent emotionally. We got a ball game later tonight, which is crazy.
Absolutely. The NBA will conduct a full review of betting-related issues as the league deals with its gambling scandal. An NBA memo sent to its 30 teams on Monday said the review is necessary to protect the integrity of the league. Nuggets beat the T-Wolves last night, 127-114. Avs play host to the Devils tonight in Lodo. The Chiefs beat the Commanders last night, 28-7. KC is now 5-3, chasing the Broncos in the AFC West. The Broncos once again in Houston on Sunday. 29 in Louisville, 32 in Lakewood, 34 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Sunny skies will be developing, but temperatures are going to be a little chilly. Highs are only going to be in the 40s to near 50 degrees or so today. A cool north wind, hard freeze tonight. Freeze warning in effect. Lows tonight, low to mid-20s. It'll be sunny, warmer, mid to upper 50s Wednesday, mid to upper 50s Thursday. Halloween, some clouds, cool, low to mid-50s. Lows over the next several nights will be 20s and 30s. Highs will be warming to the 60s for the weekend. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So 70 years ago, this Saturday was the terrible bombing of United Airlines Flight 629, the mainliner Denver, that took place. 44 people killed when Jack Gilbert Graham put dynamite in his mom's suitcase, took out a series of life insurance policies on her, and then set a timer, blew up the plane just after it had taken off from Stapleton Airport, was heading towards, I think, Portland, and blows up over northern Colorado, Weld County, Longmont to be specific. And this was a story I had never even heard of, and it changed the direction of airlines and airline law and how we keep our bags safe. All that stuff came from this incident in Denver, Colorado. And there's an effort now to build a memorial to honor the victims, the 44 that lost their lives November 1st, 1955. And help leading that effort is Becky Tesone with Remembering the 44. She joins us now. Good morning, Becky. Thank you for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you.
So I'm intrigued as to why you're personally involved in this to begin with. What is it about this incident that drew you and wanted to lend your time to help build a memorial?
Okay, so it started when I was at my publisher's conference, and this lady came up to me and she said, Becky, I hear you live in Greeley in Will County, and I need a place to stay. My dad died on this flight back in 1955, and I was born a month later, so I never met him. And I've written a book, and I want to travel around and tell the story. So I hosted her and drove her, like the last trip was like 1,100 miles. So I learned everything by following her around, being at her interviews, and I just was intrigued by it. And then I got such a heart for it, just such compassion for these people that have never been heard. I mean, they have been in certain places, but the victims, you know, the trial went just for one person. It wasn't for all 44 because they couldn't do that back then. It was something to do with the laws that they, you know, couldn't do it. So the 43 were collateral damage with no justice for them. So we're just excited to be able. Actually, there's another group in Denver that is bringing them in this weekend. There's 104 people coming in from this group that is going to be recognized, and we're going to love on them and, you know, just get to know them.
I mean, you're exactly right in the sense that the trial was only for one person, that it's in part because there's no federal law to prosecute Jack Gilbert Graham on the crime of what he committed. I mean, what he had done is he had wrapped dynamite, he had put a timer on it, then he hid it in his mom's suitcase. And part of it, the motive was the fact he had a broken relationship with his mother. She had I think, abandoned him to an orphanage because once she had even gotten married, she never really went back for him. So they had this broken relationship, and he had spent most of his life in an orphanage, and he didn't have a good experience. And there were lines in this piece in the Colorado Sun that he would say, I would do anything for money. And, you know, he kind of grew up without a family. And so he ends up with multiple counts of insurance fraud and other capacities. But it seems like his mom tries to kind of help him by giving him a restaurant that was a successful restaurant. And he starts to manage it, but he doesn't do a good job with it. And in fact, anytime money comes in, he kind of just takes it. And then at one point, there's evidence that he tried to sabotage the restaurant in order to get an insurance claim by leaving the gas running so that when the water heater clicked on, it would explode. Well, someone happens to be driving by, sees the fire, and there's a minimum amount of damage, but the insurance adjusters believe that it was done deliberately. So you have this kind of history of insurance fraud that comes from this guy. He then packages dynamite, puts it in his mom's suitcase, doesn't let her carry the suitcase. He kind of carries it. Weirdly takes his whole family to Stapleton, where he checks in the luggage for his mom, then buys 6 insurance claims or so, takes them out on his mom, and then sits around in the restaurant, waits for word to come back that the plane had crashes, then leaves. And it was through the FBI investigating. First of all, they realized that the plane crashed not as a result of some mechanical failure, but as a result of a bomb going off. And then starting to look at who's connected to the flights, that they realized that Jack Gilbert Graham is the perpetrator. But because there's no law around sabotaging an airplane, they can only charge him with the murder of his mom, the deliberate murder of his mom. He ends up going to the gas chamber. But to your point, Becky, no real justice for the other 43. And these were from across the spectrum. You had business owners, you had couples going on their honeymoon. Talk to us about some of the victims, the 43 that lost their lives on United Airlines Flight 629.
Well, there's only certain stories that I've heard about them, but I know that certain ones of them have had such trauma over it because the cockpit went over the fence. I'm going to tell you about Conrad in a minute, but it went over the fence and it burned for days. So those people never got the bodies back of their family. And so the trauma has been really deep. And on our website, flight629memorial.org, there's a story at the bottom from 5 years ago that is on there, and you can see the stress on this man. His name is Conrad Hopp. Conrad was sitting with his brother and his dad at the dinner table. They had just brought in a supper back then, right? They just brought in the beets, and it was the last day of the harvest, and they saw this white light explode all over the place, and they went out, and they were like, what is going on? And his dad turned around and said, son, go get our coats. So he turned around, and there was a seat with a body in it. And this is the kind of trauma that we want to make sure we don't trigger these people on this weekend. They're 2 generations removed. And one of our quotes is, a generation that ignores history has no past and no future. And we've watched that, happen in politics where things went down and, were taken away. But we're going to build something that's going to be a place that is going to be serene, and it's going to be on the land that it happened. So Conrad Hopp's dad owned the land, passed it down to Conrad and Martha, who was his girlfriend at the time. And then they passed it and sold it to Firestone. And then they sold it to a developer, and they wanted nothing to do with us. And now I'm praying, like, Lord, what are we going to do? I mean, are we supposed to do this? And then, lo and behold, we have a place to go, and we're going to announce that on Sunday morning on December 7. You can hear it.
That's big news. That's Becky Tesone with Remembering the 44. Those were the 44 folks that lost their lives in the United Airlines Flight 629 bombing that took place in Colorado back in 1955 that I had never heard of. Becky, I want to ask you, why do you think younger generations haven't heard of this story? I mean, we reflect on 9/11, rightfully so, every single year. Here you had a bombing that shaped the future of the airline industry right here in Colorado, but many Coloradans like myself, natives, had never heard of it. Why do you think there was that disconnect?
Well, I was told that they had just come in from the war, and there were so many lives lost in 1955, before with the war, that they couldn't handle the trauma of this. I mean, this was so deep. There were 400 people, 200 to 400 people that came out that night to the fields to try and help. And there's a gentleman whose name was Clayton Beerley. He was a manager at Johnson's Corner. Everyone knows Johnson's Corner if you're up here on this side of town. And he had his family in the car, and his son was 5 years old at the time, tells us this story, that they were on their way to their grandmother's house, and they dropped off the presents, and they drove to the field. He had his 2 sons in the back and his wife in the front. He gets out of the car, and the state patrol gives him an arm and deputizes him, and he's turning around traffic because they needed people that desperately because there were so many cars just pulling up. They were doing disgraceful things on the site. People were taking, wallets and purses and stuff because it was all over. It was 6 miles long. The plane went down in 3 pieces, and the tail went down all in 1 piece, and that's on our website, and you'll see that famous picture. But it's been amazing because we have people reaching out to us that are saying, I had a man that was Army National Guard, and I had somebody from Loveland contact him and say, his page of his book has your story in there. I want you to meet him. So he's going to be at the proclamation tomorrow with the city commissioners in Weld County. And he guarded it for 2 weeks. And he said the reason he was not in nightmare mode like everybody else is because he didn't go look. It was that bad. So these people that had hands-on, they were training people how to wrap the bodies, and they took them to the armory in Greeley. And that's where the FBI identified them quickly because some had been in the war. So it was quickly in how they transported them back to their loved ones. But it's a crazy story. And it involved all of the communities around Weld County. Platteville, the mail went for miles out, and people were finding the mail. And they actually went hand in hand and walked to get all the mail across the county.
That's Becky Tesone. She's with Remember the 44, an effort to remember those lives lost in the United Airlines Flight 629 bombing that took place in Colorado, November 1st, 1955. You all have a website, and it's flight629memorial.org, flight629memorial.org. You're looking to raise some money there. What will the money go to do, and what kind of memorial are you all looking to build?
Well, actually, I can't tell where it is other than it's on the land because that's the announcement. But it's going to have a nice-sized plane on it, and it's also for the first responders because the first responders are very important. These people that were out there that night, not only were some of them were eyewitnesses when they saw it, but they became what I call citizen responders. We have citizen responders show up on accidents on the highway. They're the ones that are waiting and trying to do the best they can till the first responders come because we need those first responders. So we are recognizing all of them and the victims and the families on this memorial. And it's going to be beautiful, and it's a piece of art. And you'll see it when we post it, and it's amazing. It's an architect firm approached us after we had ours designed and said, we have a design for you, and we were floored by it because there's so many that are just so common, and this one is really not common. Even the covering for a place to sit looks like airplane wings. It's cool.
Beautiful. I'm so glad you're taking the energy and organizing around this to remember this important event. And you mentioned November 1st, some activities are going to happen here in Denver. Can you talk about those?
Sure. So the Denver Police Museum is hosting, they identified through DNA all the families as they've gone down in generations. And they have 104 coming in of people, and they are going to do a special, this is not open, everything's not open for the public, but they're going to have them go to the crime lab. They're going to explain things to them. They are doing a nice dinner for them with officials showing up the next day on November 1st. They are doing a revealing of their memorial that they have at Flightco Tower, which is the second tower, not the original first tower that was the tower that the plane took off from in 1955. But it's the second tower, and it's out there. You can go to the restaurant and actually go up, and they will show you so many things. But it's like a history museum for 629 there. And also, History Colorado, they're going to take them by History Colorado through the end of January. They have a display of 629 with actual artifacts from the plane. It's intriguing. They actually show how the dynamite looked. And, when he put that in his mother's suitcase and said, I have a Christmas present in there for you, so don't open it. That's how he got through that. And he was just conniving. And we aren't going to even talk about him this weekend because he's not part of the story. These people that are coming in, they are the story now. They are the ones we want to hear and get to know. And we're excited. Our whole board is going up there and serving Mike Hess and his people. So kudos to the Denver Police Museum. He's an interesting man that does education out of there, and he honors every fallen police officer. So we love Mike Hess, and we've learned so much from him because he's a year ahead of us, if not longer, because he actually saw in Washington, D.C., the display that they had there of the plane when he was a young man.
There's so much history here. It was the first time that the FAA had ever reconstructed a plane crash. So they took parts of the plane to a hangar at Stapleton and all of it, and reconstructed it to figure out what went wrong. This was the first trial in Colorado to be publicly televised. And then as a result, all of the changes that took place in aviation safety as a result of this. This really is a historic moment. And the Colorado Sun has done a good job listing a lot of the events happening from a non-denominational service to the Flight 629 Symposium at Wings Over the Rockies. I'll link to this. If you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, you'll be able to get the article there. But the Colorado Sun with a very detailed review of this historic moment that took place with the bombing of United 629 back in 1955, and then how you can be involved, including History Colorado Center events coming up. Well, Becky Tesone's helping lead the effort to raise money for the memorial that'll take place up in Longmont, Weld County, around Flight 629, and you can be supportive by going to flight629memorial.org. That's flight629memorial.org, and help keep this really important moment in Colorado history alive, and help keep the memories of the victims and the families impacted by this terrible tragedy alive as well. Becky, thank you so very much for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you, Becky. Appreciate the time.
And you please have them go to Facebook, Flight 629 Memorial. Join in that. You can go back and look at the history. I even go to the Canyon City, and I put a post up on that. There's just a lot of details in there that we can't talk about. But Mainliner Denver is another great book with a ton of details in it.
Fascinating story. Appreciate the good work you're doing to honor those victims that didn't get their day in court. You were exactly right. Becky Tesone with Remember the 44. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up a great interview with Becky Tesone of Remember the 44 and Flight 629. United Airlines takes off from Denver Stapleton Airport, explodes when dynamite packed away in the luggage by a wayward son designed to kill the mother results in killing everybody on board. 44. And it's a fascinating story. And there's a great article in The Sun by Joe Rassenfoss. Have you ever heard of Joe Rassenfoss? He used to be with the Rocky Mountain News.
No.
I hadn't either. But this is like a long read. But it is, Bill, this is like what newspapers used to be like, where it's just so good you can't put it down.
It's long-form journalism. Is what
yes,
it is. Yeah.
Exactly. Long-form journalism. He even gets into like the heyday of the trial back in 1955-56 when this takes place, because there were no rules.
Yeah.
Like the Denver Post and the Rocky Mountain News were covering the jurors and who they were.
Yeah,
and one point he talks about the potential jurist, Elva Prouty, described in the Post as an attractive and shapely wife. Could you imagine a juror being described in the newspapers today? But like that, the story highlighted her beauty queen career in the flapper era, which included a second-place finish in the Denver Post American Theater Beauty Contest, earning her the subcreant, who knows, queen of the Polkatrude. I can't even, like the words are so much more advanced than what we read today. It was also reported her 3 marriages and one that was annulled after she discovered her intended was still married. And the past role as a worthy high priestess of Damascus.
Yeah, and then also got to give a shout out to Mary from Wyoming, who had sent us information about United Flight 409 that was taking a similar path that crashed about a month earlier. And the theory behind that is that the murderer thought, wait, plane crash? That's the same path Mom's plane is going on. So if it wasn't for that earlier crash where everybody died, he may have tried a different way to get rid of her. But he all of a sudden had this light bulb in his head that, wait a minute, what if we just have the plane crash?
Guy was only 24 years old, total freak, when prison doctors had talked to him prior to his execution. And he was killed in the gas chamber, by the way. If he felt bad and realized that there were 50 or 60 people on the plane, he said, the number doesn't matter to me. The number of people to be killed made no difference. It could have been 1,000. When their time comes, there's nothing they can do about it. This guy was just terrible. But fascinating story. More importantly, go to the website, flight629memorial.org. Support their effort to remember the 44 victims of this that never got justice. Let's go to the phone lines. We got time. Yep, Ron, Colorado Springs. Good morning, Ron. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning, Ron. What's on your mind?
Hi, good morning. Fascinating story. About 3 years ago, and I recommend everybody take a tour of Canyon City, and you can read a story about everybody that's been executed and kind of what got them there. But reference this, it was one mistake that got him caught, and that was he originally... And
repeat that a little bit.
Repeat that. I want to hear that you like it cut out of the exact wrong moment. You said one thing got him caught. What was it?
He had planned for the plane to blow up over the mountains, knowing it would be scattered so far and wide with no road access. They would have never found the evidence that they were able to retrieve on the planes and reconstruct it.
And what was it that got him caught, though?
The plane was supposed to blow up over the mountain.
Gotcha. Yeah, the fact that it didn't, and they were able to recover the evidence in the... Yeah, I mean, this was scattered over 6 miles of basically farmland out there in Longmont.
Right, and they would have never got to that evidence. You know, back then, there weren't a lot of roads up in the mountains. And yeah, he would have got away with it, probably.
Fascinating. Well, Ron, Colorado Springs, I sure appreciate it. Thank you for the phone call. His line's open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. I'm trying to find out the total number of people that have been executed by the state. I can't. Wikipedia is not being helpful right now. But on the list, Jack Gilbert Graham is one of the more notable ones. So, wild. Well, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Bill, part of what makes his Wikipedia article so weird on capital punishment in Colorado is that its history is so weird. All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, so we repealed the death penalty super early on. Okay, so it was, oh goodness, I had it. Now I've lost it. All right, so capital punishment was abolished in Colorado in 2020. You know that.
Yeah.
It was legal from 1974 until 2020, but there was only one guy that was executed in Colorado since the 1970s. But if you go back to the early days, we had a bunch of lynchings, okay? The history of Colorado's death penalty is somewhat unusual, as it is one of the first states to repudiate the death penalty by abolishing it in 1897, only to restore it in 1901 due to a whole bunch of lynchings. 101 people were executed in Colorado between 1859 and 1972, and then only one after that.
That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, take it away.
Yeah,
we'll do it ourselves.
That's okay. And kind of the entrepreneurial spirit here in Colorado. We'll do it ourselves.
Gary Lee Davis, what was he executed for? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I believe that was. And the thing is,
that was 74. I think.
I don't remember what he was executed for.
Oh, no. So 1997.
Yeah, it's 97.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's something. And when you said Gary Lee Davis, and the reason why it's that it kicks in my mind, and I don't remember.
He was a murderer and serial rapist.
Yeah, there we go. That comes back because Peter Boyles was down there for the execution.
What?
And I ran the board during his show. So I remember the Gary Lee Davis execution. I remember the group that went down there. And I want to say it's, let me see if I can pull this out of my head. I may be incorrect, but I believe it is there's a longtime KOA news reporter. And again, I hesitate to put the name out there because I think I might be incorrect, so I don't want to. That her family was, one of the people in her family was attacked and murdered by Gary Lee Davis and raped by him.
Did he
So
witness it?
I'm not sure that he was I'm not sure he was the witness, but he was down there outside the building and he was there. I don't think they let him in. I don't think we got access to that now that again, it's a long, long time ago, and I was younger and had much more hair. But yeah, I remember him making the trip, going down there. It was an overnight excursion, and I remember running the board during that show back here. And I remember the group that went down there as far as producers as well. I didn't draw that straw that day. But yeah, he was down there. KOA was down there. There were some people from KHOW down there. Yeah, so I do remember that day.
That was the last one. Wow.
Yeah.
And I think these guys like the Chuck E. Cheese dude, he's still technically, Nathan Dunlap.
Yeah, Dunlap, yeah.
Is still technically awaiting execution. Or was he actually fully pardoned?
I think that he's fully pardoned, I think. Or
whatever. Yeah, you're right. Polis commuted the sentence.
Commuted the sentence, so then now it's life in prison regardless of what happens to the law. So, yeah.
There were three guys, Nathan Dunlap, Mario Owens, and Robert Ray, that were all commuted by.
Yeah, and Mario Owens is the one that killed the witnesses in the case against him.
Unbelievable! Yeah. Wow. Well, I don't think lynchings are coming back anytime soon.
No, probably not.
To Colorado, so we'll just sit, and these guys will continue to just live their lives incarcerated.
Yeah.
I'd like to have the death penalty back.
Oh, I'm not as much on that one. Yeah. Only because I'm not certain that it serves a deterrent purpose. If we're just talking about revenge, that it's like, hey, we have found you guilty of this, and as revenge, we're going to remove you from society. Okay, I can understand, and might actually be persuaded by the revenge argument. I'm not persuaded by the deterrence argument, but I am super persuaded by the argument that putting the punishment on the table gives the prosecution amazing leverage against the defense. That is where I personally feel the death penalty serves the most good inside of our judicial system, is that leverage that a prosecutor has against the defense. I think that's golden. And that would be the only reason that I would wholeheartedly support a return to the death penalty in Colorado, because I would like to have the prosecution have that as a possibility on the table.
Dude, apparently we wrongfully executed a dude too. Joe Arity in 1939.
Wow.
Falsely convicted and wrongfully executed.
Jeez.
Well, there you go. All right. We will continue this week. It's only Tuesday. The debates will be back tomorrow. Don't worry. We'd love for you to join us. As always, you've been listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
We are Denver's talk leader. This is News Talk 710 KNUS, and it's only Tuesday. Deep breath.